Welcome back to Frontrunner Podcast Collective. This is the part 2 of the episode. This just can't be it. And in the first episode, we went over 3 teams that have had kind of interesting off seasons. So go check that out. It was Atlanta, it was Utah, and it was New Orleans. And in this episode, we're going to hit 3 other teams. But before we do that, let's hit the socials. X. So get with Frontrunner PC, and then the producers are at Rhea _ Funch FRPC. They have their own little dialogue that goes on that. Man, it's crazy to me. So go ahead and check that out. Also, go to the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel has some really cool things on it. The last one we did was basically using lyrics from the Anthony David India RE song, More Than Words or Nothing But Words. And we weaved it into what's going on with the Lakers. Pretty proud of it. So go check that out. Also subscribe to the channel, comment, because then I'll go ahead and comment back to you. The other thing is, what else is there? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Tired. Late night. So, the actual podcast, we talked about it on the first one, but we're going to talk about it again on this one. We are grateful for all the downloads that we're getting. It looks like we're going to break the record that we had, our individual record that we had last month into this month. So, kudos to everybody out there, but we have to continue. Be a friend, tell a friend, let everybody know about the podcast. If you like basketball, if you like draft stuff, if you like rumors, if you like fun, I think this is the podcast that you can come and get those things from, and you can also get some information as well. So we hopefully we cater to a lot of different people, and we are looking to grow. So we do that with you. So please be a friend and tell a friend. And then at the end of this pod, we didn't give you on the first one, so we owe it to you on the second one. Some suggestions on if you told all your friend group about the podcast, who do you tell after? And we'll do that for you. Other than that, let's get into this pod. I'm glad to get into this pod. And we have some teams to go over. So the first team that I really want to talk about are the Brooklyn Nets. So the Brooklyn Nets, they acquired their picks back from Houston in a trade. So they now have their coveted 2025 first round pick back. Now, if you are a person that doesn't like really jive with the draft or whatever, from what the intel that I received is that it's not just Cooper Flag. There's a bunch of players in this draft, Ace Bailey and others. It's a pretty impressive group. We will start hammering the 2025 draft in August, actually. So look forward to that. There will be multiple components to it, and we'll start breaking it out for you as we get closer. Probably we'll start dropping stuff off to you sometime next week. I will say probably towards the end of next week, we'll start having information about what kind of things we're going to have and where to go get them. All right. Then the other thing that we could talk about with the Brooklyn Nets, now that they got their draft pick back, they went ahead and signed Nick Claxton to a 4-year, $100 million deal. Pretty standard deal. I know it's kind of shocking to say, hey, a rim protecting center is like worth $25 million a year, but I'm trying to tell you, in about 2 or 3 years, we're gonna see some of these salaries, and 25 is gonna seem like a bargain. So at first I looked at it, I was like, ooh, that's a lot of money. And then I was like, no, the cap is going up and this will all make sense in like 2 years. So I was like, yep, can't worry about it. Now, then they traded Mikal Bridges, and people are like, whoa, okay, we're doing this. We got our picks back. We're gonna go ahead and do the rebuild properly, and we hope to get one of these really nice young prospects to build around. And I understand the motive. I also understand the mode of operation they're doing. Okay, they trade Mikal Bridges. They do trade him to New York. Um, I'm not upset with Mikal Bridges going to New York. Okay, I understand the Villanova connection. I understand, what it means to the city and now how pumped the city, especially coming off of what kind of playoff run the Knicks had in last year's postseason. But you trade with the Knicks, you give him this guy who, like, Brunson loves him, the other Nova cats love him, and now like they're the toast of the city. I have no problem with it. You got picks, whatever the case may be. Now, they did get Bojan, the other Bojan Bogdanovic, back. He's a serviceable vet. I don't know how much he has left personally, but we'll see. Um, and here's the thing that I have a question about with the Brooklyn Nets. Now that you traded Mikal Bridges, you have Cam Johnson sitting on this roster. You have Dorian Finney-Smith sitting on this roster. Whatever you think of Cam Thomas, he is a bucket. He's a bucket getter. And I'm not saying you have to get rid of him or whatever the case may be, but I still think that you have a lot of pieces that will help you win. And maybe you are trying not to win as much to get you lower in the draft order. So if that's the case, I don't understand the inactivity after the Mikal Bridges trade. I don't think this is something that you can wait until February and say, hey, you know what? I think we should go ahead and take these two guys or three guys or whatever off the team, and then we can just do full on tank mode from there. I think that would be a monumental mistake. You will have teams that will be bottoming out early this year, upcoming year, and I think that you want to make sure you're also in prime tank mode when the season starts. So again, it puzzles me that there hasn't been more chatter, more conversation around Cam Johnson and Dorian Finney-Smith. Now, Dorian Finney-Smith, I don't know what kind of price tag he will fetch, given that I think he's like 31. So I don't know if that makes a big difference. I'm going to take a sip of water. Give me 1 second. My throat got dry right there. So you have these two guys, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, well, yeah, they weren't great last year, and it's just a lot still there that you're going, could this team win 34 games? Possibly. Not great, but not good enough to get you into like the top 5, right? You kind of want to be in that 20, like 25-ish, below 23-ish. You want to be in there. You don't want to be topping out at like 30. I mean, with the draft odds flattened, I definitely understand that there's a chance that you can go from 7 to 2. I definitely understand that. But I'm sure that teams are kind of going, I hope this year it kind of falls chalk, because I think there's going to be a lot of teams in earnest tanking for some of these guys at the top of the draft. So that's the reason why we kind of put the backdrop of the NBA draft next year in focus with Brooklyn, because to me, they got a lot more work to do if they're really trying to get really, really bad. So we'll see what they continue to do with this offseason. As we have said previous pods, I do believe that these next 48, 72 hours is pretty critical. Because my feeling on it, and from what I've kind of gathered from people who work in the league, is that once the summer league is over, not saying that everybody's not working anymore, but I think what you're going to see a lot of is a lot of people focus their energy on their players that are overseas and in the Olympics, and that would mean that there will be a little hiatus on some of the moves that are going on in the league. Now, we have been surprised before, and things have happened in just weird times of the year, but I would take a close look in the next 2 to 3 days to see if something doesn't shake loose. That's just my call. I've been wrong before, but that's what I'm thinking of. Now, we move on to another team that we can say, and their fan base, I know for a fact, is saying this can't be it, right? And that's the Miami Heat. And the Godfather, Pat Riley, they got him out here waiting like a person waiting on Lauryn Hill to drop a new joint, new songs, new album or whatever that she ain't dropped in many a year, right? So we heard all this chatter. You heard the Trae Young rumors early, right? Oh, he's gonna be on the move, no doubt. And then it was Donovan Mitchell. Oh, we're gonna see if he's gonna get out of his contract. And then there were, thoughts of other people. We still have the marketing thing out there. He's still out there. There's some others that are not floating around, but you heard Brandon Ingram. His name has been out there for a long time. So I'm sure Pat Riley thought that, hey, I'm gonna kind of wait this market out, see who gets desperate to either unload a guy because they're scared of the cap or whatever the case may be. And I am sure he thought that he would be kind of like the beneficiary of teams panicking. It hasn't worked out that way. And so they lost Caleb Martin. They lost DeLon Wright. So Caleb Martin went to the Philadelphia 76ers, and DeLon Wright went to the Milwaukee Bucks. Good pieces, solid pieces. Caleb Martin might be a bigger hit because of the playoff experience and what he's provided in the playoffs. Now, he had that one series that was crazy against Boston, or the three series that that culminated in the Boston series. But I will say that, we'll see. I think he can fit in Philly. I think he does. It's the thing with the Miami Heat players, though. It's like once they leave Miami, the track record isn't awesome. And that's I want this to be true, that Caleb Martin is just going to continue to be awesome as a role player. But, that Miami little stigma, I don't know. We'll see. Now, they did sign Bam Adebayo. It wasn't like they sat there and didn't do anything. They also signed Haywood Highsmith, and they also signed Alec Burks. Now, Alex Burks, 13 years in the league. Does he have any more juice left? I don't know. We'll see. They also re-signed Kevin Love. He still plays at a decent level, especially if you're saying, hey, man, we just need like 15 minutes off the bench. Kevin Love, solid. do you that solid. So, and I think Kevin Love kind of knows where he is in his career. So he's fine with what he's doing. And he's also in South Beach. It's not a bad gig if you can get it. Now, there has been a fundamental shift in some of their, no, I wouldn't say fundamental. I think this has always been the case, but maybe because they just haven't had the opportunities or whatever in, like, let's say like 6 years previous. But I noticed that they have really focused in on their first round picks over the last couple of years, and it seems like they've taken more of an onus, like, hey, this part of the draft has some opportunities where we can get cheap, um, really established guys, or guys that fit our criteria and our system well, that allow us to do the things that we kind of want to do. So with that being said, last year they brought in Jaime Jaquez Jr., solid pro right off the bat. The shooting kind of went down towards the end of the year. I wonder if it was because of role, and also he's playing 82 games for the first time. So give my man a break. The other thing that has happened is they got Kyle Ware, or Kyle Ware. I'm sorry, butchered that kid's name. Apologize. Kyle Ware. Now, he went to Indiana. I said when we did our draft podcast, and by the way, we're proud of that. And if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to that. But I remember saying in that specifically that this is going to be the true test of Heat culture. And what I meant by that is Khalil Ware is a very talented big. This guy he can shoot it from the outside. It's streaky right now. But he has the capability of doing it. He can be a tremendous finisher at the rim, a rim protector. He can switch on defense. He can do all these things. My wonder with KL is this: does he really love basketball? And I know that sounds really critical, but if you notice, there's a lot of bigs, and if you talk to them and you get them in a real honest moment, I remember Travis Knight. Travis Knight played for the Lakers. I think he went to UConn. Yep, he was a Husky. He went to the Lakers. He balled out. I think, the first couple of years with the Lakers, I think he was a second-round pick, and he was able to get out of his contract because he was a second-round pick. And then he went to Boston on a free agent deal. And he was just playing to get to that second deal. He said, he was like, once I get that second deal, it's all gravy from there. I'm not, he didn't love it. And I'm not saying that Ware doesn't, but he gave some indications in Oregon that he did. He was, now you can say whatever you want. Dana Altman has been a really good coach in Oregon. He goes to Indiana under Mike Woodson. Maybe there is something there where there's a message conveyed differently. Mike Woodson gets a lot out of Ware, and we see the potential that we're supposed to see out of this kid because he is phenomenal. So now, all that being said, what else is there for Miami to do? Well, here's the thing. The hero value right now is nil. A lot of people aren't really checking in. The contract is just too cumbersome right now for the type of production that he's going to be able to give you, because a lot of people see him as a sixth man. Now, maybe Miami overshot their shot when, he came up at the most opportune time when they made that run to the finals. But damn, dude, it's it's hard now. It's hard because it's like, okay, are you attaching something to Hero? Are you attaching like Nikola Jovic or Jaime Jaquez Jr.? A lot of people, a lot of fans, Heat fans, don't have the stomach for that. I personally wouldn't want to do that. No, let's keep that young talent and let's try to build around it. Now, with that being said, is it a bounce back year for Rozier? I think so. I think that somebody of Rozier's caliber doesn't all of a sudden forget to learn how to forget to play basketball. I just don't get that. He had a terrible year, maybe put a lot of pressure onto himself because he had been playing in Charlotte for like 3 years, and he's on a team that the games count, it matters. Whatever you think of Jimmy Butler playing, not playing, maybe Rozier got there and said, shit, I'm here. This is big time. Let me see what I can do. And maybe now with a off season, understanding all of the ins and outs of the Miami Heat, what the concepts are, what they like to run, where he exactly fits. And I'm sure Eric Spoelstra, the old video coordinator type of guy he is, he probably has about 10 to 15 clips that he's sending Rozier to say, hey, man, this is kind of where we want you in the offense. Nobody gets thrown away in Miami. The resurgence of Tyler Hero. I mean, he was left for dead for a while. Duncan Robertson also got that situation as well. So I do see a bounce back year for Rozier. I think it will help the overall in Miami, but I still think there are pieces that need to be taken care of. Now, how do they get that? Where is it? Is there a superstar that kind of falls into their lap? Are they the team that's waiting out Brandon Ingram? And once Brandon Ingram finds out that he is not a $45+ million a year player, they get him for like, I don't know, 35, and then say, hey, dude, put a chip on your shoulder, you're a Miami Heat, and let's roll. That's a nice little piece of firepower for them. I don't know what is actually going to be on the table for the Miami Heat, but it's difficult for me to believe that this is literally what they're going to walk into the year with. Now, I would be shocked if this is it. I would, honestly. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, especially if you're saying, okay, we have a motivated Jimmy Butler who's on the last year of his contract. Well, we're going to use that and parlay that into, trying to win. And if we're trying to win, we should maybe have one more guy to help with the firepower issue, especially when you see the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference loading up. Boston didn't really need to do anything. They just added somebody who was a flamethrower in college in Baylor Shireman. Baylor Shireman is the type of guy where, he's old enough, but he's also young enough, right? He's old enough where, okay, I've seen some stuff in college basketball, and now I'm in the pros, and he's young enough where it's like, oh, irrational confidence guy. Because if he sees a couple shots go in, it's crazy. And then you got the Knicks. Obviously, you got Philadelphia. Cleveland, it looks like they're saying that they're staying pat. Still don't know about that. But we see. And then also Indiana is loaded again. So there's a lot going on in the East at this point in time. And the whole hero value situation has put a really everything is in the mud now. So they're going to have to be creative, or they're just going to have to be patient and wait until maybe somebody just gets completely disenchanted with their franchise and says, you know what, I don't like what's going on here, so I'm out, and deuce it up and see what happens. But it's really hard to see Miami in this situation. That moves on to our last team, which is kind of a people will say, well, Vince, what could they have done? But let's talk about it a little bit. The Milwaukee Bucks. Now, the Milwaukee Bucks they've been getting a lot of praise. Now, I'm gonna remind you of what they had to work with. Now, Milwaukee has a first round pick in 2031, and that is really it. They've exhausted all the other resources as far as trade assets, as far as picks are concerned. Now, as far as trade assets, that might be a different thing, but a lot of people might see differently. But I digress. Let's give you the overall, and then let me kind of tell you my thoughts. So Milwaukee is a team that got Taurean Prince. I think that's good work. I think Taurean Prince will definitely be additive to a Milwaukee Buck team led by Doc Rivers. Delon Wright, I also think, is a hell of a pickup for a team that had these type of constraints that they were up against. So you got those two guys. Now Malik Beasley is out. I honestly, I think what they got in and what they got out, I think this is a plus kind of, but that's me. In Malik Beasley, you do lose somebody who can shoot the three. Now, Taurean Prince did shoot the three very well for the Lakers when he was in a role that fit his situation better. When he was like a 20-minute a night dude, great. Darvin Ham, for some reason, thought he was a starter. Now, Darvin Ham is also in Milwaukee with Doc Rivers, so I don't know if some of his thoughts are going through their head. I hope not, but we'll see. So then they also lost Daniel Tice. Now, okay, I think Taurean Prince kind of crosses out Daniel Tice, Delon Wright. I think you get better playmaking. You get, better ball distributor. You get a smart player. You also get with these two guys, you get better defense. Malik Beasley, the one thing that he was not able to carry the mail on was the defense. So they did get more stout at point of attack and also on just collectively as a defensive team. My question was, did the Bucks run out of bullets? And are they going to rely on their young talent? Because here's the thing, Doc Rivers has not been a coach that loves young talent. Okay. Everybody implored him to play Andre Jackson Jr. last year. It took until they were desperate in the playoffs, and then they finally played him. MarJon Beauchamp is one of those guys who have really showed out in summer league. He will have the occasional game in preseason, and then for some reason he can't stay on the court. And I don't know where that development arc is going and where it's coming from. He's still fairly young. He's like 21 now, so you still got a young guy on there. And then they drafted Tyler Smith. That's the G League guy who's like 6'9", 6'10", shoots it from the outside. Likes to shoot it from the outside a lot. Not really a big, let's go inside and let's do some work type of dude. He is a perimeter guy. But he can defend the rim. I wouldn't call him a rim protector, but he can defend the rim. And then their first round pick, which was a lot of people were like, whoa, hold on. And that was A.J. Johnson. Now that gentleman, he was a California All-State guard. He went over to Australia for Illawarra, played there, didn't get a lot of time, struggled, but the kid is 6'4" and he's 167 pounds. It's funny to see this because um, one of my best friends in high school was basically about this. He was like 6'4". He might have been like 170. He was telling me he was like 180. That dude was a stick. Um, and this kid is basically the same. He's gonna need a lot of development, especially just physical development. But the tools are there, the handle's there, the shot is can come. I just think he was overwhelmed in Australia, and I don't know. Some people react different. I don't know, but at the end of the day, he's a spindly kid. He's very slight. It's just gonna take time with him. Um, here's my question about Milwaukee. Now, I understand that, Giannis helps, just like every superstar does, right? Now, here's my question. I'm not saying you trade Dame or anything like that. I do question whether you should have had any consideration in trading Chris Middleton. Now, yes, does that break up continuity? 100%. And we are here at this podcast, Front Runner Podcast Collective. If you do have a core that can be successful, you know, I always am kind of like, hey, let's get a little continuity. Let's see if we can make some marginal improvements, and running back and see what goes on. And maybe you bring in a bench piece that fits with the starting group better, where it allows more efficiency to play itself out. I don't know, but in this respect, Chris Middleton has struggled with health. I still think that Chris Middleton has a lot to give. I wonder if Chris Middleton can give at the level he wants to give at, playing like 30 plus minutes a game still. That's my question. It's not the question of talent. It's not the question of, oh, is this a bad dude? This is a bad dude. Chris Middleton, Claudius Cap was one of those dudes that was like, when they were getting to the finals, he was hitting big shots in the fourth quarter, holding it down for Giannis to get them to the finals. And then Giannis just had a Godzilla, King Kong type of damn final where he's hitting 50 points in the last game to close it out. So, I know, and listen, I didn't come to you like going, hey, trade Chris Middleton. I'm throwing it out as an option. And what I'm saying by this is like, the defense is kind of slowed down. The offensive production is kind of slowed down. Could they have maybe traded him for pieces, right? Could they have turned him into like a younger wing? Could they have thought outside the box about like Miles Bridges? I understand that, maybe for personal reasons and what the off the court situation, it might not have been a fit for Milwaukee. I'm not saying that they did or did not have these discussions. These are the type of things I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about Milwaukee. Is and now I know Middleton doesn't fit Charlotte's timeline, but it's those type of players. Or, hey, maybe is there a trade with Chicago before the whole DeMar DeRozan thing happened? Is DeMar DeRozan a piece that maybe fits there? I don't know. Now, you believe what you want. I've been told under good sourcing that the rumor for Levine about adding picks to that, and I said it on the previous spot, that the those rumors are over exaggerated for real. And I think what what I was looking for was a little more imagination from the Milwaukee Brain Trust. And I do love the margin pieces that they pulled. So I mean, if you're saying this is all we could do, we just did not have the resources to do it. But I really do believe that maybe in one situation, like a little less could have been more. And maybe instead of taking, 75 cents on the dollar, you take three quarters. You take three 25-cent pieces and see what you can do with it. Um, there's a lot of guys who are in that, like, what we consider that second draft type of situation. I love Denny Avdia in Portland. I love the idea of that. Um, I think that's a really good position for him to be in. So it's not like I'm trying to be critical of what Milwaukee has done. It's just more of, could they have maybe kind of widened their view a little bit and say, okay, if we do this and get a young wing that, and Chris Middleton would have fetched you a wing with ball handling skills and defensive capability. Like, I do not doubt that Chris Middleton has value around the league. He's a good vet. He's a solid leader. He is a guy that you can count on, in crunch time minutes as far as that's concerned. He has a lot of value around the league, and I just wonder if I know there would have been players for him. I know there would have been players for him. So they didn't do that. They decided to go ahead and work the margins. The question again, will Doc play the young players? Because this does not work at all if Doc does not play the young players. All right. A couple things, little news and notes before we get out of here. We were talking about Atlanta, and we're talking about how they had a lot of wings and a lot of bigs on the part one of this podcast. And there's an update. So Atlanta Hawks center Clint Capella has reportedly drawn interest for the New York Knicks, and the Los Angeles Lakers per SNY's Ian Begley. Ian Begley is tapped in. Clint Capella, Atlanta, he was one of the bigs that the Knicks checked in on. Begley reported. He didn't know how the talks went. I don't know if they were active at this very moment, but they did check in on Capella. So maybe we might get some news on Capella. But we had made the comment in the previous pod that Atlanta had a lot of bigs and they had a lot of wings, and there had to be some sort of consolidation trade available to them. I would love to see the Lakers get in on this. But I digress. So Clint Capella is one of those guys that we are definitely keeping our eye on. Again, Brandon Ingram is the other one, and then the wings in Brooklyn. We're waiting to see what happens. We did tell you about the Russ trade in the first pod. Now, Westbrook getting traded to Utah is funny because if you remember back, Russ was, in a sense, was part of that Utah deal that got the Lakers Jarrett Vanderbilt, got our guy D'Lo back in the fold. So good piece of business for the Lakers in that situation. And now my guy Westbrook is going to be in Utah. Well, he will never be in Utah, but he's getting traded to Utah. They're going to buy him out, and then it looks like he's going to Denver. So, and it looks like from all the reporting it looks like this is legit that Jokic is really like pumped up about playing with Westbrook. Which is interesting because we never see Jokic really pumped up about anything. But maybe he sees a vision for Westbrook that we don't currently see. We will see how this all plays out. Trying to see if there's anything else that we kind of need to hit on before we go. No, that's it. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys again. Oh, we need to talk about who you can talk to about our podcast. So, a couple other things that the producers and I were kicking around. They were like, well, okay, who could they talk to about the podcast, right? Now, I personally think that a person that, you know, is behind a counter at a 7-Eleven, possibility. I'm thinking also a bus driver, you know, like, we did say Uber driver, but our friends that do the mass transit in metropolitan cities, 100% bus driver for sure. We also thought about our bus boy that, they bust the dishes for us at the restaurants, or bus girls. We are not trying to be sexist here on this podcast, but, the people who bust our tables, they, if it helps them to stay active, to listen to the podcast, Front Runner Podcast Collective, we're here for you. We did say all of like Amazon and like your YouTube, like not YouTube, your what was the other people? What was the other people, Soraya? Oh, like your FedEx people, right? DHL, all those people. Yeah, so all those people right there as well. Grubhub for sure. Oh, your Jamba Juice person. Listen, key situation. Listen, if you go to a juice place, now we live in Southern California here, we got Jamba Juice. Okay, Jamba Juice is dope. Now, I like Jamba Juice. It takes a while to get a Jamba Juice, because you get all your stuff in it. You get your protein, you get your B12 in it, you get your immune boost, you get your energy boost, whatever, right? So it takes some time. So you got a lot of time to kill. Talk about Front Runner Podcast Collective. That's what you should be doing. All right. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. This is the Friday podcast. We are recording it on Thursday, trying to get ahead of schedule so we can pump out videos on the weekend for you guys for this podcast and the previous podcast. So keep it locked here with Front Runner Podcast Collective, because we are monitoring the Cleveland situation, the Brandon Ingram situation, and if something else shake loose like the Clint Capella situation. So all of those things are up in the air. And then, as we always like to say, especially going into the weekend, the best part of you is you. Make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people who are only going to brighten your light. Go do some good in this world, and we will definitely see you back on this feed on Monday. Peace.